Hello everyone, my name is Abhishiekh Saxena and today's session is about approach to mains. What is approach to mains? Mains examination actually requires a certain acumen. It is not just an examination where you read a particular set of topics from the syllabus and go into the exam. You have to understand the examination. Each question in the mains examination is nothing but a test of concept. Each question you will find in the mains will be testing a concept or a set of concepts. So in this series of approach to mains for public administration optional, we'll be taking up certain high value concepts that are asked and see how they manifest themselves in the examination. But it would be a very conventional approach that we study a concept and then just see a question. The idea of this particular series is to actually crack the brain of the examination setters and look how and why they put up certain questions. To that end, we have devised a unique methodology called question to concept. So here we'll be using certain PYQs to actually demonstrate that how questions are formed. We'll reverse engineer the questions and see to which concepts or to which set of concepts do they pin, and what would be the ideal way to go about. So in the first installment of this series for public administration, we are going to take up a very high value concept, that is the new public management, NPM, as it is known to most of you all. NPM, why I say it is one of the high value concept, if you look at past 9 to 10 years, almost one question every year has been asked from new public management. And therefore, this makes the NPM one of those high yielding topics for the mains examination for our optional public administration. So let us look at this through the lens of a PYQ. So I'm picking up a PYQ which is fairly recent, that is of 2024. New public governance, an emerging paradigm. Something that is emerging. Is contrasted with market-based approaches of NPM. Market-based approach of NPM. And we need to comment on this. Now, whenever we see something newly emerging, the idea is that it would correct or remedy the flaws of what was before. So in this particular aspect, if you see, there is a very strong undercurrent of criticism of NPM, or rather, if not wholesale criticism, certainly the limitations of NPM. Now, to understand broadly this question, first we need to go back to the concept. This is the first exercise in the mains examination that you need to do. The moment you see and read a question, you need to pin it back to the concept and the set of concepts. I call it the demarcation of territory. that which is the area of the syllabus that you are operating. And then further we go down into which specific dimension are we looking at it. So now, while new public governance is coming out as a concept under the larger umbrella of the limitations of NPM and is coming across as an improvement. So that makes NPM and its limitations central to our answer. But to get to there, you first need to understand what NPM is. Now, if you look at new public management, it emerged in 80s and 90s as a response to flaws of traditional public administration. Traditional public administration, which came to be identified with inefficiency, ineffectiveness, bureaucratic delays, lethargy, bureaucratic inertia, especially in the right of Reaganism and Thatcherism. These were the perceived inefficiencies of the traditional or the then ongoing public administration that sowed the seeds for NPM to bud, which talked about efficiency, effectiveness, economy. And at the heart of it was the application of private sector practices in public administration. Those techniques, those values to bring about improved efficiency, effectiveness, and enhance the quality of service delivery. And enhance the quality of service delivery. So to that end, if you see, the NPM was marked by managerialism, decentralization, a more market orientation, which our question sort of also point out. That means we are engaging more competitive spirit. We are treating citizens as customers. It was far more about empirical methods of performance management. A more customer-centric approach. Customer centricity. Remember, I'm not talking about citizen centricity. Cost efficiency. And this gives rise to the idea of entrepreneurial government. Right? Whether you use the logic of Christopher Hood, here you'll have to back them, Christopher Hood or Osborne and Gabler as scholars, to promote efficiency, to promote competition, to promote effectiveness, to promote choice, to being more customer friendly. A market like a mechanism, a business like a mechanism. But this phase was also marked by erosion of values. Erosion of values of public sector, of treating citizens as citizens and not merely as customers. It had after effects of commercialization, or rather over commercialization. It led to multiple issues regarding coordination, regarding service delivery, because economies, those were advanced, were able to easily transition, whereas countries, especially the developing ones, suffered a lot because suddenly the state support got plugged out. And it provided a jolt to the welfare goals. It provided a jolt to the welfare goals. And hence, if you see, the NPM was not without its fault. And therefore, as an aftershoot of NPM, you see new approaches, new public service or new public governance emerging to remedy these very ills of the system. So, boiling a question down to the set of topics and the dimensions is critical. Now, let us head to the question itself and see how we can answer this particular question effectively. If you will see this particular question, first and the foremost, we'll have to contextualize, because the question says that the new public governance is an emerging idea. It's an emerging idea. It is contrasted with the market-based approach of NPM. So first and the foremost, we'll have to contextualize that this is emerging because there is a flaw with NPM. We'll have to contextualize the question itself. We'll have to talk about how in the overall development of public administration, the overall evolution, NPM marked a significant shift to bring about more efficiency and effectiveness. Yet it was marked by a lot of flaws, a dehumanization, a devaluation. And to that end, while it is accepted that the qualities of new public management did provide a great impetus, but it still needed an improvement in the form of new public governance. So new public governance here emerges as a betterment over NPM, which emerged as a betterment over the TPA or traditional public administration. And it improves the mechanism enunciated by the NPM through more democratic governance. Democratic governance, a networked approach. A networked approach. We are drawing in from the learnings of governance as an idea. Citizen engagement, not just citizen orientation. Citizen engagement, not just citizen orientation. Collaboration. Collaboration. So, the NPG, New Public Governance, emerges as a 21st century avatar, which is more suited to present information age, where people are increasingly getting aware to provide that human touch to the largely empirical and action-reaction approach of the new public management to a more collaborative, network-centric, networked, democratic and citizen engagement-oriented approach, and to tide over the fragmentation, the crisis, the complexity, the dehumanization character, the democratic deficit that the NPM provided. And to that end, it is an improvement over NPM. We'll give a brief background of NPM and its flaws, and then focus that how this is a 21st century idea introduced in the 2000s to overcome the shortcomings. Co-production of services. It is marked by co-production of services, taking citizen opinion on board, views government as a facilitator, as a true facilitator, and not just as a manager or a provider, right? In this, you can talk about the views of again Osborne, right, as well as Jacob Torfing. I'm giving you a scholar, Jacob Torfing, right? And contrast how it is an improvement. Remember, reasoning of how and why is very, very important in this aspect. Reasoning of how and why is very, very important in this aspect. If you look at NPM and new public governance, the philosophical basis of NPM were only market driven, whereas the NPG, the philosophical basis is provided by the governance orientation and the democratic pluralism that exists. In the NPM, the government and the private sector were the major actors. But in NPG, it is the people, the civil society. The citizen is no more just a consumer, he is actually a stakeholder, a partner, a co-developer, a co-producer. While NPM did emphasize on decentralization and disaggregation of units, but it did not talk about the horizontal networking that is provided as part of the new public governance. While the goals of NPM were largely efficiency, effectiveness, etc., the goals of NPG are more democratic. They are focusing on more democratic accountability. Apart from effectiveness, efficiency, they also focus on the value creation. While as part of the NPM, the accountability was largely managerial or performance oriented. It acquires far more democratic and public character as part of the NPG. The policy largely remained top down in NPM, whereas in NPG, it is truly coming across as a more negotiated, more bottom up, more consensus oriented idea, especially in the space of developmental goals and welfare. The new public governance has not only emerged as a tool of efficiency but also a tool of democracy, making public administration not just more responsible but also more responsive. And this should be your idea of a question. So I hope you have understood that how a particular thread of NPM and its shortcomings is being used as a fulcrum to talk about something that is an improvement. To help you more with the topic, I have prepared some of the sample questions for you. So let's read them. New public management represents a shift from administration to management. Critically analyze this statement in the context of changing paradigms in public administration. Something which has a core DNA same, because we are talking about critically analyze. While this does represent a shift, it is not without its flaws. Next, discuss how the principles of NPM have influenced administrative reforms in developing countries like India. Our own LPG reforms, first generation reforms, second generation reforms, coming up of PPP, so on and so forth, and evaluate the outcomes. Next one, compare and contrast the traditional model of public administration with NPM in terms of accountability, efficiency and citizen orientation. So just like we did it for NPM and new public governance, you can do it on certain aspects, the philosophy, role of citizen, accountability, etc., etc., to compare the TPA and the NPM. Next one, NPM has enhanced efficiency but compromised democratic values. A similar question, a question with a similar strain of DNA, a bit framed differently or phrased differently. Substantiate your view. To what extent has new public management succeeded in transforming the role of the state from provider to facilitator? Examine to the reference of public service delivery mechanisms in India. So, I hope that through this question to concept, we have deciphered that how wearing forms, a topic that we might study in a very literal manner, can take in the examination. Obviously, there will be more sessions to come on various aspects of the syllabus of public administration. Till next time, thank you.